Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
My G's, my dogs, my homies.
Yes, sir.
Fantasy Champs, what's poppin'? My name's Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always. What's poppin', Rick?
What's up? What's up?
This is the biggest week of fantasy football of the year for me.
Is it?
Yeah, I got to win.
Who are you playing?
A very not great football team.
Honestly, I haven't even looked at. It's kind of sad, but I haven't looked at Sleeper in a minute.
That's the dude who complains about injuries.
Yeah.
If you're listening, I love you. But his team has a lot of players who...
Oh, I know who that. Yeah,
probably shouldn't be.
Yeah,
Starting.
you're gonna win, dude. Why are you even stressing?
Because I lost to the worst team in the league 3 weeks ago on a week that I thought was going to be a snooze fest.
I think you're gonna win by like 30 points at least.
No, I'm not. It's going to be like a 2-point win, and I'm going to be like, oh, thank God. But anyway, if I win, I go 7-6, and there's like a 95% chance I make the playoffs, which is good news for me. I've been in the playoffs like 7 straight years in the home league, and I need to continue that streak. I can't.
Oh, I'm playing your brother.
Yeah, knock him out, bro.
I'm favored to win.
Actually,
how is that
I need you to lose. Which bro? Oh, yeah, I know you're playing. I want you to lose. Sorry.
Okay.
Take all your players out. That would be nice. That would be nice. It'd be a nice gift at the end of the season. That and Austin Eckler for totally free.
Rude.
All right. So, yeah, welcome on into the podcast. We are back with our starts and sits. Last week, we took a little bit of a break from fantasy, not fantasy football, but the shows for Thanksgiving weekend, and we're back at it with our starts and sits for this week. So we'll give you some start and sit advice going into week 13 as we enter crunch time. A lot of teams are 5-7. A lot of teams are 6-6. A lot of teams are 7-5. So there's going to be a lot of poop shoving going on the next couple of weeks. A lot of moving around in the standings. So you need to get a win. You need to just, you know how you get into the playoffs? You stop looking at the standings and going, well, how do I get in if I lose? You go, I'm just going to win out. I'm going to win out.
Yeah.
So you do it. So Rick's got to start thinking like that. You still got a shot, Rick.
I do?
Yeah, you still got a shot in the home league. You're 5-7. You win 2 straight games, you're in.
Yeah, but
always fight, bro. Always fight. Don't give up. You always fight to the bitter end. Let's go.
I'd feel a lot better about it if
no, fight.
Okay, I'll set my lineups.
He's like, I'll set my lineups. But anyway, before we jump into our starts and sits, check out our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and other podcasting platforms, please leave a review. Share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, like and comment down below any questions you may have for us. You ready to get your starts and sits in, Ricardo?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's start with the QBs. I'm going to start with a start at quarterback this week by the name of Matthew. Hold on a second. Back the bus up.
Did you flip those? I think you flipped those.
Yeah, I accidentally put them backwards. All right, so I'm just going to read them the right way. It's Tua at Washington is my start this week.
There you go.
Wow, dude. I can't believe I blew that one. Whew. I put Matt Stafford in my start and Tua in my sit, and that's not how I wanted it. I want the other way. But now you know my sit, so we'll get to that in a second. But Tua at Washington. Tua Tagovailoa has been one of those players who's been like on a roller coaster ride all season. And some might say, oh, well, I've been starting him every week. You shouldn't be. I mean, considering that when he plays a bad team, he sucks. He's playing Washington this week, so if you have been streaming him or throwing him into your lineup when he has a good matchup, this week would be the week that you would want to throw him in there. Washington, they have a terrible secondary. They used to have a pass rush, but they traded it to the 49ers and the Bears, so they don't have a pass rush anymore. They have Deron Payne. That's about it. So defensively, they have nothing. It's going to be tough for them to stop Tyreek Hill, stop Jalen Waddle, stop the running game. I think this is going to be a really good week for Tua, and I think you should get him in your starting lineup this week. I did want to give you the fantasy points per game given up by Washington, which is 22.2 points per game to the quarterback position and 4-point touchdown leagues. So very good matchup. Get Tua in your lineup. There you go.
Yeah, Tua's a great one. I'm going to have to remember that for my DraftKings lineup.
Yes, sir.
Stack Tua, Tyreek Hill this week. For me, went a little bit off the board. Wanted to kind of look for a potential streamer. And that's Russell Wilson. He's owned in 63% of leagues, so that's a decent amount, but there's some leagues where he's available.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could just get him super cheap if your trade deadline hasn't passed for like a crappy bench player to plug and play him for this week. So for me, I have Russ, and I think he's been playing pretty good this year. If you look at his numbers, he's actually had a decent season. He's QB 14. He's had some good weeks in there. Some bad weeks, but some good weeks.
Yeah.
In the last really 4 weeks, he's kind of been consistently solid. He's at 19, 20, 15, 16.
Mm-hmm.
And those are against some kind of tough matchups. He had the Bills in there, which correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's a tougher matchup. The Chiefs is a tougher matchup, and the Browns, which I believe is top 3 in the league against quarterbacks. So, and now he has Houston, which is a decent matchup. And that's a game in Houston that could be a shootout. Both teams are battling for that wild card, for one of the wild card spots.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud is probably going to put up some big numbers against that Denver defense,
You're going to be
even though they've been playing much better lately. So it's a game that could be a shootout. It should be a favorable game script for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been solid anyway the last few weeks. He's on a roll, so I'm riding the wave. Let Russ cook. Broncos country, let's ride.
Cook. Yeah, not a bad one. Russ has been good on the season, so get him in your starting lineup against Houston. He's going to be playing from behind. I mean, I hope. Yeah. I have CJ Stroud, so I need the tutties from Stroud. And I also started Singletary, so I need the tutties from Singletary. You know, I like when you have the running back and the quarterback for a team. I like that stack, I've decided. Because either way you win.
No, I do like that. I was doing that with Gibbs and Goff, and that was worked out some weeks.
Yes, it's like you're getting 6 regardless if they get on the goal. Unless neither of them score. That's a whole other. I almost ripped my pants off Sunday when CJ Stroud rolled out and scored a touchdown. I was like, none of y'all get fantasy points except for me.
Okay, that's rude.
All right, let's talk about some sits at the quarterback position. Wait a minute. Do we go through all of our starts first, or I don't even remember?
Yeah, we do position by position.
Oh, all right, good. So at quarterback, my sit of the week is Matt Stafford versus Cleveland. If you didn't hear it before, Cleveland, you know, they do this thing where they stop people from scoring fantasy points a lot. Quarterback, hardest, toughest matchup is the Cleveland Browns. They give up 12.6 fantasy points a game to the quarterback position. So if you were contemplating a Matt Stafford start this week, which I don't know that you should have been, but if you were contemplating it, being like, hey, you know, he had 28 points last week, maybe I should slide him out there. Got the running game going. It's bad. No, don't do that. Cleveland is going to be tough. Matt Stafford ain't going to have a good game. This is going to be a tough week for him. And when you're trying to fight for the fantasy playoffs, you have to make smart decisions. If he somehow goes off against Cleveland, all the power to you if you started him. But my suggestion would be to sit him.
Yeah, that's a good one. Mine's a little risky because this guy's been playing out of his mind the last 3 or 4 weeks. But that's Jordan Love. And he's QB9 of the year. He's coming off a great week where I think he had 26 fantasy points because in our league he had 29. Let me double check.
26 is good.
Yeah, so in a 4-point league he had 26. And he's coming off 3 straight really good weeks. 18, 18, and 26. I think he comes back down to earth a little bit. This game's going to be versus the Chiefs, who have a top 10 defense. And it's also going to be in Green Bay, Sunday Night Football. The pressure's kind of going to be on. And this feels like one of those games where it's like it gets hyped up. Jordan Love is playing out of his mind, and it's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And then the final score is like 20-17 on Sunday Night Football.
Wow.
I don't think it will be a positive game script for him, though. But I also think this time of the year in Lambeau, we could see some bad weather too.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's really about that Chiefs defense. And I think Jordan Love riding the hot streak that he's on has to come to an end at some point, and I think that happens this week.
Good one. All right, let's move to the running back position. I have a start this week, Devin Singletary versus Denver. This past week, it was actually kind of...
guy.
What, say it again?
I said you're riding with your guy.
Oh, yeah, dude. I got to go with Singletary. The interesting thing that happened this week is, I thought Dameon Pierce was going to come back and command a majority of the opportunities. And I think Rick told me earlier this week that Singletary got more of the work. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. What's going on here? And then I looked into it, and I guess, 3 yards of carry is abysmal, Devin. What are we doing here? And I was like, there's no way he continues to keep this job. Pierce was worse.
Yeah.
And so I think at this point, Singletary is the workhorse for this team, at least for the time being. And I think you should just roll him out, in your starting lineup on a week-to-week basis until it's kind of shown otherwise. But it doesn't not help that Devin Singletary is facing the Denver Broncos, who give up 27.3 points per game to the running back position. So even if they split, it should be an okay week for Devin Singletary. I think he does have a good week this week. I think he gets back to some of the higher point-scoring games that he's had. The last 3 weeks, he had 23, 19, 13. So, and he had 6 catches for 54 yards this week. Didn't score a touchdown, still scored 13 fantasy points. So if we can get this guy dropping back into the end zone and getting him some opportunity, if you picked him up, start him this week, you won't regret it.
Yeah, he's been on a tear lately. So, my guy is Isaiah Pacheco. So staying in that Sunday night football game, I believe it's Sunday night, right?
This guy runs so weird, by the way.
Actually, I think Sunday night might be.
No, it's Sunday night.
Different game.
Either way, it's Sunday night.
Yeah, Pacheco versus Green Bay. Pacheco is having a pretty good year overall, but he's had some ups and downs. But against Green Bay, it's a very good matchup, and kind of goes with my theme of I think it's going to be kind of a grosser game than people think. Mm-hmm. It might be a shootout. Who knows? Maybe it's like 40-something to 30-something. I'm just stupid. But even if that is the case, that's going to be double the offense. So good for Pacheco. He's been really, really, really good. Even if he doesn't score a touchdown, he lives around 10, around about 10 fantasy points the last couple of weeks. And if he gets a touchdown, he could be in for a big game. So I want to say Green Bay is bottom 5 in the league against running backs. So it's a very, very favorable matchup for him.
Yeah.
And it's a game that he could have a really, really, really good one.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. Pacheco runs weird though. I do think that.
He does, yeah.
Yeah, he runs like a horse.
Yeah, a workhorse.
Yeah, a workhorse. All right. My sit of the week at running back is A.J. Dillon versus Kansas City. So going back to the Kansas City game with Rick, it looks like Aaron Jones ain't playing this week.
Don't say that.
As of the time that I'm recording this podcast, he has not practiced. He didn't practice on Tuesday. He didn't practice on Wednesday. He didn't practice on Thursday. And I would be surprised if he practiced on Friday. If that is the case, Aaron Jones will not play this week. And if that is the case, A.J. Dillon would then become the guy that people look to as a start. I would suggest that you don't start him against KC. KC has been one of the tougher run defenses in the entire league, just in real life, but in fantasy it also lines up. They give up 17 fantasy points a game to the running back position. A.J. Dillon has not been good when he has gotten the opportunity. And I don't think Kansas City is going to be the time that all of a sudden the Green Bay Packers running game shows up. So, and if A.J. Dillon if Aaron Jones is in the game, then A.J. Dillon definitely becomes a sit. But I think even if Dillon is in line to play, you have to sit. You have to sit.
What, you don't want Mr. 3 yards a carry in your starting lineup?
No, I'm good. I mean, I am starting Zach Charbonnet on Thursday Night Football, though. So, yeah,
well.
The dummies continue to get dumber.
I got a hot take for you.
Okay.
Sit of the week at running back.
Oh, no.
Joe Mixon.
Whoa!
Joe Mixon, who I think is he an RB1?
The only fantasy option on the Cincinnati Bengals outside of Jamar Chase.
T. Higgins is coming back this week, and Jamar Chase.
You really want to start T. Higgins with Jake Browning at quarterback?
No, but I don't want to start any Bengal, to be honest. I'll start Jamar Chase.
Jamar is.
And I'll tell you why with Mixon. First of all, he's not really efficient.
Okay.
He's kind of like A.J. Dillon in that sense. He's definitely a better runner. He's at 3.8 yards per carry on the season. Last week against Pittsburgh with Joe, what's his name?
Jake Browning?
Jake Browning.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to remember that. Jake Browning, the new quarterback.
Yeah, you got to remember a lot of backup quarterbacks' names.
Fair enough. He, with him under center, he had 8 carries for 16 yards.
Yep.
2 yards a carry. I think defenses are going to really force the Bengals to throw the ball,
mm-hmm.
and it's only going to hurt Mixon. Now, he could still have good fantasy weeks because he might get 15 dump-offs, and for PPR, he'll get, base points based on that. But his touchdown upside is down, and I think his running efficiency, which already isn't good, I don't love the odds of that unless he can break off a big run.
He's a lot more effective.
He's playing Jacksonville. I believe this is the Sunday night game. But the Jaguars have been top 5, I believe. Again, quote me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
They're at minimum top 10 against running backs. Sleeper says it's a dark red matchup. So
yeah, Jacksonville only gives up 15.9, which is like 10.
It's 10th?
10th toughest matchup, yeah.
Okay. So it's a little, it's not as bad, but it's still top 10. It's still not a good matchup. Jacksonville has a pretty good rush defense.
Yeah.
So you add all those things in, I would prefer not to start Joe Mixon. That said, with injuries and buys and all those things, you might not have a choice.
Have the luxury.
But if you're in like a 10-man league and you got someone on your bench that's pretty decent, plug and play him.
Yeah.
Over Joe Mixon.
Mixon is, I think the offensive efficiency is not going to be great. Joe Mixon requires a good passing game in order to be effective on the ground because it forces teams not to focus on him because he's really the only asset that might be able to move the ball. Teams are now just focusing on stopping him and Jamar Chase. And then, this game against Jacksonville, I would imagine Jacksonville can have a shot at coming out with a lead. And Cincinnati having to play from behind. So this is a good one, Rick. I like this. Joe Mixon.
It could backfire though.
Could backfire big time. He could have 25 and you just absolutely burned. But yeah. Usually I say start your studs, but is Joe Mixon a stud anymore? That's a whole question for another day. All right, wide receivers. My start this week is Rashee Rice at Green Bay.
Got a lot going on in that game, don't we?
I always do this to myself, but I do have some new ones coming up. Possibly, maybe. We'll see.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, it's Rashee Rice at Green Bay. Rice, I've talked about him over the last couple weeks, and he's actually a decent trade target, or was until this game.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, but he still only had 67% of the snaps. Mahomes targeted him 10 times. If Mahomes starts to find a guy that he can trust in and rely on, I don't think I've seen him target a receiver like this with this kind of efficiency since Tyreek. Really?
Yeah.
There's been like random booms from guys, but I mean, this is a young guy that actually showed something. So, this week going up against Green Bay, I think, this is it. It's your fantasy playoffs. Like, if you need a flex and Rashee Rice is on your bench, like it's time to get him in there and see what he can do. There's always a chance that it doesn't pan out, but I like taking the risks. Green Bay too, it's tough when you play Kansas City because you just really don't know who to put your number one corner on. Because they just don't got nobody, but Green Bay usually is pretty good against the pass. They've given up 25 points per game to the wide receiver position, so I don't think Rashee Rice is going to set the world on fire this week, but I do think it's a week that you probably need to get him in your lineup. And if he starts getting these, 10, 11 targets a game, and catching 8 passes in PPR, it's too valuable to pass up, even if it's a tough matchup. So I like Rashee Rice this week.
Yeah, that's a good one. He's been on an absolute tear. You might not like this one, but I have Adam Thielen as my start.
At Tampa Bay on the road? What are we doing?
At Tampa Bay on the road.
Explain yourself.
Hold on. Let me just check something real quick because Fantasy Pros says it was a good matchup. Tampa Bay. I believe it is, but let me just confirm.
32 points per game. Ooh, whoa.
Right, there you go. Okay, so 32 points per game. Where is that ranked in the league?
Like top 5. Easy matchup.
It is a top 5 matchup for Adam Thielen. We got a new coach, new play caller, and not always, but you do see, you look at the Raiders. You look at the Raiders when they lost John Gruden as well. You look at the Panthers last year. when they went to Steve Wilkes, I think, the interim coach.
Yeah.
Sometimes these teams get a random boost when they fire the coach. Not always. Like the Colts last year when they fired, I think it was Frank Reich, right?
Yep, and they won.
They won their first game, but then lost out after that. So that could happen here, but sometimes teams will get this random boost. So I actually like Carolina this week. I'm partly just rooting for them, but I do think they have a chance. Tampa is very bad in their secondary. They've given up a lot of points to receivers. Adam Thielen's coming off a really bad game, 1 fantasy point. But if you look at all the weeks before that, has he died down from his crazy start? Yes. We talked about that, I think, last week or maybe it was earlier this week. But he's still getting targets. Like week 8, he had 11 targets. Week 9, he only had 6. Week 10 and 11, he had 10 and 11 targets. So he's in every single game this year, except last week, he's getting at minimum 6 targets. And week 1. Those are the only 2. Last week and week 1 were the only 2 weeks he had under 6 targets. So I think they're going to target him again. I think the Panthers could succeed in this game, and it is a good matchup. So a lot of things going for Thielen. I'm willing to take the risk and put him in my starting lineup.
Okay, fair enough. At wide receiver, a sit this week, Amari Cooper. This one's really simple. I mean, the Rams.
He's been on our list like 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, it was just it's for people who continue to roll him out there. There's the Amari Cooper people. Yeah. But the Rams, they've been a lot better this year against the pass. 25 points per game to the wide receiver position, so it's a little bit tougher of a matchup. It's not like completely like it's a middle of the league matchup, but with the quarterback that they keep rolling out there on a week-to-week basis because they don't have Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper just is unstartable. And if you're still starting him in hopes that he has a good game, you're just you're a fool. So I am going to sit Amari Cooper. It's very simple. I'm going to sit Amari Cooper this week because if you just look at his numbers with who is it? Is it Darian Thompson-Robinson at quarterback for them? I can't remember.
He's in concussion protocol, so right now it's Joe Flacco.
Yeah, don't start Amari Cooper this week. Joe Flacco is going to start an NFL game in 2023.
Yep, right now.
No, that's not right.
Because I think PJ Walker is hurt too. They're on their 4th quarterback.
Yeah, so I mean, at this point, it's just when Deshaun Watson is not on the field, Amari Cooper does not have success, and so that's just been what it is this year. You know what I mean? So you have to sit him. There's no 2 ways about it. Even if he had a good matchup, I'd still sit him because I can't trust that he's going to have a good week. So that's the easy, simple one, but sit Amari Cooper.
Yeah, mine's Drake London. He's had a very up and down season. And I do like him some weeks. Other weeks I don't. That Falcons offense, we've talked about a billion times how brutal it is. He's probably been the best. I don't know if he's been the best receiving option, at least, for the Falcons. And last week he was decent, put up 14 fantasy points, 7 targets, 5 catches for 91 yards. Pretty good. But he's up against the Jets this week, and I definitely wouldn't trust it. He's going to be matched up against Sauce Gardner. The Jets team has not been good at all, but their defense is still playing pretty well. This game feels like a game where it's going to be like 10-7, and Ritter and Tim Boyle throw 6 interceptions combined. Mm-hmm. Just not a good game for either passing team in this one, so I would stay away from Jake London.
Okay, let's quickly do the tight ends and send you on your merry way. Don't forget to watch Trade Targets tomorrow.
Yeah.
My tight end start this week, Dalton Schultz versus Denver. Schultz has had a kind of up and down season, but ever since he's been, along with the train of Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and now Dalton Schultz, with the emergence of C.J. Stroud over the last 4 or 5 weeks, he has also been really good for fantasy. I hate going back into that Denver game for a start, but I just can't not tell you to start Dalton Schultz this week. So, and he might even be on your bench or available in your league. So just try to go get Dalton Schultz, stick him in your starting lineup, and call it a day.
Yeah, I know that's a good one. But I know we said don't start Browns players, but I am going to tell you to start David Njoku.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Joe Flacco loves his tight ends.
Well, listen, Flacco loves his tight ends, but also if Darwin Thompson-Robinson plays again, he only had 20-something pass attempts and 9 of them was to Njoku. And the week before that, Njoku had 15 targets. So they love to both guys dump it off to tight ends. So it might not be a pretty game, but for PPR purposes, if the dude's getting 10 targets, it's pretty good for the tight end position. And it does help that the Rams are 25th against tight ends. So it's a good matchup as well.
Okay. All right. At tight end, sit for me is Gerald Everett at New England. I just don't love the matchup with the New England Patriots. They, despite the offense being completely abysmal, the Patriots have given up, I think, over the last 6 weeks, the least amount of points in the NFL. And because the Pats' offense has been so bad, the defense has been on the field for a majority of the game. So this defense really working. They're working for absolutely nothing. But with Justin Herbert going to New England, it's not going to be an easy matchup for them, and I don't think Gerald Everett's going to have the best day. If he's your only option, whatever. I'm not going to judge you for rolling him out there, but I just don't want to start him this week against the Pats. So I'd sit him this week. I'm trying to find the numbers. Patriots give up 6 points a game to the tight end positions, which is the 4th toughest matchup in fantasy football. So yeah, it's just not a good storm for Gerald Everett if you're trying to get a tight end start this week.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Mine is Kate Allen. I don't think his matchup. I don't know if the Panthers is a tough matchup or not. But I know people have him ranked pretty high this week for some reason. I think on Fantasy Pros he's like tight end 12 or 13.
Oh, wow.
And I would not go that far. According to Sleeper, it's a dark red matchup too. So I don't know why Kate Allen's getting hyped up a little bit. Maybe because some bye weeks, some injuries, and all those things. But I would go in a different direction.
Okay. All right. There you go. There are all your starts and sits for this week. Week 13. Be sure to get these guys in and out of your lineup, whoever it may be. Take our advice. Heed our advice. Maybe it'll help you win this week. We got trade targets coming up on the next show. It'll be the last trade targets episode of the season. See you later, guys.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.